前回の動画で漢字を学ぶのはあまり役に立たないと言ったため批判を受けたんだ。だからここでその点についてお話したいと思うんだ。漢字にも役割はあるんだ。多くの人が基本的な漢字を学ぶこと、例えば200字くらいまでが語彙を増やすのに役立ったと言ってくれたんだ。それは知らなかったからみんなが教えてくれて嬉しい。いつも通り自分の経験に基づいてこれらの動画を作っているんだ。だから知らないこともたくさんあるよ。俺は聴覚学習者だから聞いて繰り返すことや記憶法を使うことで大成功したと思うんだ。偏りがあるかもね。もし漢字が君にとって役立つならぜひ必要なものを学んでくれ。でもこだわりすぎるないよ。そうしないと、言語を使う力があまり良くならないぞ。結局一番語彙を学ぶのに役立つことが大事なんだ。I really hope that makes sense. Let's talk about know-it-alls and perfectionists who actually cannot use the language. 日本に住んでいた時、間違ったことに執着する人たちにたくさん出会ったんだ。ピッチアクセントのように、自分のピッチアクセントが合っていないと流暢ではないという人もいるんだ。僕のようにね。And you can usually find them in the comment section looking like this. 漢字もその一つだよ。1000字以上の漢字をしていて、読むのは問題なかった人もいるんだ。でも、ネイティブスピーカーとの会話になると、そのスキルは赤ちゃん一家だったんだ。コメントで、お前は動画のためにスクリプトを覚えているとか、ピッチアクセントや発音が悪いというタイプの人たちです。こういう人たちは、日本語で成功することはない。もし日本に行ったら君にきっと会うだろう。And they usually look like this. I know I'm a bit unhinged in this video, but I more so bring this up because I know there's a lot of people who get discouraged by the detractors and whatnot. And so I don't want you to feel like they're correct. That's more so what I'm trying to get at here. I'll do the rest of this video in English because I know there's a lot of Japanese people who actually watch this, which was surprising to me. Irashaimase. Let's go over why I don't obsess over details and why you should not either. Number one is that we have better things to do. Okay, I notice in Asian languages in particular, Chinese, Japanese, all that stuff, some people try to make it their entire personality. So if they're learning Japanese, it's almost as if they're trying to become a Japanese person. And that's just not what we really want to do here. Language really is just a part of your life, and it should enrich your life and lead to smooth communication in which you can understand everything and communicate whatever you want. That's kind of the goal. Unless your goal is to read manga and all that, that's a part of it too. Definitely cater to what you want to do. But for the most part, there is no need to obsess over small details. If you're on my channel in the first place, you probably have a lot of other things to do in general. I know there's a lot of guitarists like myself, piano players, you guys do sports, all sorts of other things that you guys have mentioned in the comments. So you physically just don't have the time to be catering a lot of extra time to things that don't really matter. Because despite what they say, the detractors, what they may say to you when you make content one day or whatever, you actually sound a lot better than you think. So again, try not to let the detractors deter you from getting to your goal. I'm fine. I made plenty of money in Japan. I had plenty of amazing experiences, so it doesn't bother me. But I know that does bother some of you because that's what I saw in the comments. So that's why I kind of wanted to bring all this up. Reason number two, we did not learn this language from birth. I know some of you mentioned you were half Japanese, but again, you still didn't learn it from birth. So even if you have that pressure to try to become some perfect speaker, I would say just don't let it bother you. If someone asks, say, hey, I didn't learn it when I was a kid. That's pretty much it. And if you're not Japanese, you really should not worry about it. In my case, I'm a heavily tattooed black guy. Nobody's gonna be running down the street in Tokyo saying, hey, why doesn't that guy sound like a native speaker? It's just not going to happen. I could take the time and pretend to sound good, but to me, it's just a really poor investment. Just like in English, there's so many accents. It's like if I told someone I was from the UK or whatever, oh, every time you sit down at the piano, you want to make sure your hands are nice and warm. That way, when you play the chords, they all come out in a beautiful way. I'm not about to do that all day because that's not how I talk. I could do the same thing in Japanese, actually, but I really just don't feel like it. So please practice, make your mistakes, sound off in your accent. It doesn't really matter. I promise you, you will have a lot of success that these people do not have. Please do not let them detract you. Okay, I'm gonna talk about camera Japanese versus conversational Japanese. A great way to really level up your skills in speaking any language, even your own native language, is to just speak on camera. Practice speaking about certain things, certain topics, especially things that surround your life, and just really practice speaking that on camera. If you can do this in your target language, it's really gonna skyrocket your conversational skills. One thing that's really helped me as far as work and just doing this is speaking Japanese on camera on my own. And when I had conversations in Japan with people, it was extremely just easy. Whatever thought, even if it was a complex idea, like I say in videos, it would just come out immediately. And there was almost no thinking involved. So take the time to take your phone someday, or if you have a separate camera, use that and just set it up and practice speaking about certain things. Something that will happen as well is when you do this, you're going to start to find knowledge gaps. And this is where you really level up your language. So if I'm talking about kickboxing or MMA, and I pretend I have a conversation with a beginner and he's asking me questions, if I have a knowledge gap, like I don't know how to explain, you need to parry with this hand rather than this hand. If that's a knowledge gap for me, that's something I can go look up and then I can immediately go practice that. And again, leveraging AI, like I mentioned in my first video, you can actually just give it certain topics to talk about, and it can give you 20, 30, 40 sentences that you can immediately go practice. And the more you practice those, the more they're going to get into your subconscious. You know, I remember in Japan, a lot of the times I would have conversations with people and they would freak out because of the sentences I was saying. But for me, it was just kind of a walk in the park because I had done it in my apartment thousands of times, just saying the same sentences over and over and over again. And so if you really want to get your language skills to the point where you're not really thinking about it, that's something you really want to do. And using the camera helps because you can also review what you've done. You can practice the same stories and you can just improve upon those skills. And over time, you're going to notice that as you fill in more gaps, as you fill in more knowledge gaps, you'll just kind of have this complete fluency bubble going on. I hope this is all making sense. I don't really script these videos. I just kind of say what I have to say. So take that and really run with it. Record yourself when you can. Another reason to record yourself is that the camera keeps you honest. You know, unfortunately, in YouTube and Instagram and all that, I'm not going to say a lot of these people don't speak Japanese, but you can kind of pretend, I'll say. I can hop on Omegle in some random language, learn 10 sentences, say it, get a reaction. The reaction gets me likes and views. The likes and views gets me social proof. And what people do with that social proof is they give out the worst language learning advice on the internet. And so if you use a camera and just record yourself, it's going to keep you honest in your own skills. And you're not going to feel the need to try to deviate from that. And you'll actually be able to speak it without really thinking about it. Because again, that's the goal here. You can add on manga and all that other stuff like you guys kind of attacked me for in the last video. But again, the main goal for me and people like myself is to speak and understand languages without having to think too much. The funny part about this step too is that it works really fast. Like you're gonna notice you pretend to have conversations about maybe guitar or something. And you talk about everything, all the keys, how you learn, how many hours, all that. By the time you actually go practice or speak about that with a native speaker, you're gonna realize that it just comes out quick. And that may only take you a couple months max. And you can cover several topics in just a few weeks or a few months. So really leverage that, find those gaps, record yourself. It's gonna skyrocket your skills. Even me, when I speak, sometimes I literally have to think back at what I just said and wonder like, did that come out correctly? And most of the time it does. But that's really the power of doing this. And I wanna get into repetition now, speaking of that. So the power of repetition. So I occasionally get asked why I speak the way I do, like no filler words and all of that. And The reason is because of the power of repetition. For example, I can still remember a lot of the shorts I've made because all of that is sentences I've said before, but I just changed out the vocab words. Like the consistency short, right? I said, 一貫性って波みたいなもので、一貫している時もあれば、そうでもない時もある. That means consistency is like a wave. If there are times when you're consistent, there are also times where you're not consistent. And I believe in my left hand, I was playing C mixolydian flat 6, C major, and D diminished chords, just arpeggiating them. But again, all this, I don't have to think about it because I've done that a lot. I've played that on piano a lot. I played that scale on piano a lot. I played those chords on piano a lot. And I've said those sentences or some sort of versions of those sentences in Japanese a lot. So really, it's just my brain processing things I've done hundreds of times. I don't say that to flex. I more so say that to say if you practice certain things hundreds of times, maybe thousands of times, it's really going to get to the point where you can use it without thinking about it. This is the same way with anime. If you're watching an anime and you hear them say certain words, certain sentences, it's all going to be the same at the end of the day. Because even if it's advanced words, your brain's going to be able to figure out what that means because it already can process everything else that's going on in that episode or in that sentence. So that's really what I'm trying to get at. The power of repetition is just, it's one of the best things you can really leverage as far as learning a language. Okay, Q&A. First question, why Japanese? So I will tell this story in detail in the future, but I actually never wanted to learn Japanese. What happened is I joined the military and they basically told me, you're going overseas because you're 18 and single. This was back in 2011. And so they told me to just choose. And I had Italy, Spain, and Japan on my list. And they sent me to Japan. And I think about after a few deployments and whatnot, maybe a year in, I really, really liked the country. And so I kind of wanted to stay. And so I picked up conversational Japanese, which takes maybe 3 weeks to learn. And that's what I survived off the whole time. I got out of the military there, I went to school there, and then I started working there eventually. But again, I'll explain that in detail in the future. And so for the most part, I stayed there from the age of 18 to 28. And I was actually just about to move back, but this channel just randomly took off. I went from, I think 900 subscribers to 20,000. So I had to start rethinking my plans and all that kind of stuff because I was going to go back over there and do software as my own business. But I don't know if this channel continues to grow like it is. I don't even know what's next. I really don't know what's going on, but I'm just kind of taking it day by day. Okay, JLPT. I'm gonna kind of sound mean here, but N1 should not be a goal for you if you actually want to speak Japanese. The unfortunate side of that is that many of them cannot speak Japanese. They can't really have basic conversations, but they can pass a test. And I'm not saying that to be rude to someone you may know who has N1, but I noticed two categories of N1. It was either a flex or they needed it for a job and they didn't really want it. Those are the type of people I usually met in Japan. Don't think that that's gonna make you fluent in Japanese because it's absolutely not. Okay, living in Japan's effects on my skills. Some people don't like that I say 100% self-taught, but I'll say this. All the Japanese you need to survive for their entire life in Japan, you can learn in 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4, if you're a bit slow at it. Other than that, there literally is English for everything because Japanese is not a language that is forced on you like English. If you were in America, you're actually gonna learn English because it's going to be forced on you. Anywhere else, some languages it's just not like that, and Japanese is one of those. You can really get away with knowing almost no Japanese, and I know people like that. 10 plus years living in Japan, and they literally don't speak much Japanese. Many of you watching this video speak more Japanese than a lot of foreigners I've met over there. You can believe that if you want to or not. It doesn't matter to me. I've met them and they literally don't speak much Japanese. So that's the answer to that. What is my IQ? Am I a genius? No, absolutely not. I don't know my IQ. I never took a test. I don't know. My thing about being smart, this is my intuition. My idea of being smart is knowing how dumb you are. So things like I take Instagram off my phone because I know I'm gonna press the button or I know I'm gonna get caught up scrolling reels. I just do that with everything else in my life. When I watch a YouTube video, I put it in full screen because I know myself. I'm gonna check the comments. I'm gonna check the suggested videos. I'm gonna forget what I'm watching. Same with just everything else in my life, really. That's why when I made that teach yourself video, I really made it a point to say, take one video or one course or one thing and just take action on that. That was really something I learned from just mistakes. And I try to just put that out for others because that's how you get results. So no, I'm not a genius. I don't know my IQ. It's probably average, maybe slightly above in some areas and slightly below in other areas. I don't know. Okay, how long did it take to go from conversational to fluent, or whatever you want to call this? 6 months. Now, I already know someone's typing an essay in the comments right now telling me 6 months is impossible, blah, blah, blah. But that's what happened to me. All the Japanese I can speak and watch anime with no subtitles and all that, I pretty much did it in 6 months. Then after that, I just maintained it for several years. Now, it's important to note that video number 1 is a very intense method. This is not comprehensible input. This is not sleeping in Japanese and dreaming and whatever. It's not any of that. The passive input, none of that. This is very deliberate, intentional work over hours every day. So that's how I got there in 6 months. You're not gonna get there just doing the passive methods. I really wanna make that clear. Especially in today's world of the whole easy actually and breathe for results and all this other nonsense. It's not like that. If you actually wanna use the language, it takes a lot of deliberate work. But it only took me 6 months, and I'm just gonna be transparent with that. And some people may say, oh, well, you were around the language so you could make sense of the sounds. No, not at all. That was not the case for me. That might be for someone else. So maybe add less of a month or take away a month or add whatever. But for me, it was like I was starting from scratch for the most part. Again, I know some people may think I'm crazy for saying that. I don't really care. But try it out for yourself. If you're skeptical, try it out for yourself. Just try it about maybe one subject and you'll see what I'm talking about. Within a week or a month, you're gonna see a lot of really good results. It just takes a lot of repetitions. That's all I'm trying to get at here. Okay, some encouragement and making your own action plan. So again, I mostly made this video to encourage you guys to just go take action. I know as a YouTuber, it's nice if you sit around and look at my channel and videos and all that, but I'd rather you just get off the computer and go get to work. I can't hold your hand as far as giving you the vocab words, giving you sentences and all that. You have to do a lot of that on your own because that's how you're gonna get the results that you want. I talk about different things than you. So my sentences can be about guitar, MMA, piano, other things like that. But you may have an entirely different life. So if I give you a bunch of vocab words, a bunch of sentences that you need, it's not really gonna fit you. That being said, again, leverage AI. All the questions you ask me in the comments, you can literally ask ChatGPT. Hey, what's the 2,000 vocab words I need to know? It's gonna tell you right away. And you can say, give me 50 at a time so I can practice. And that's it. You just keep doing that. Okay, give me 50 more. Give me 50 more. All the way until you get to 2,000 or 4,000. Same with sentences. If you don't know sentences or you don't know what sentences to practice, just ask ChatGPT or the Google Gemini or whatever AI you want to use. Okay, small talk about where I was born and how I was raised in school and all that. Give me a lot of conversations about it. You can tell it to act out a scenario between two people. Really get creative with ChatGPT because it can literally do just about anything. You can ask it, how do I teach this white belt how to escape from an armbar when he's in bottom side control? And it can tell you a lot of sentences on how to do that. So now you can practice that and teach someone how to escape an armbar. And for people who don't have the same goals as me in languages as far as just speaking and understanding, you can leverage manga for it too. Hey, what are the kanji I need to know for most manga? What should I study? All that. Really use ChatGPT. I promise you it can take a lot of the work that used to take me weeks to do, and it can do it in just a day or maybe a couple prompts. Again, all this is not easy, but I promise you if you do this, you just take my advice, it's really gonna work out well for you. I said this in my last video, I cannot explain how good it feels to just say things in Japanese and not really think about it. And the same goes with like watching content or movies or anime or something like that. I don't have to look at subtitles. I just watch it like I do an English show. So really try to take the time to build this up. It takes a little bit of time, but I promise you it's probably faster than anything else you'll see on the internet, apart from the channel I talked about in the last video. As far as other language channels I would say Mikhail Hyperpolyglot, of course. And you guys brought up Language Lords. I looked up that guy. I really like his method. It's very deliberate. It's kind of like mine, just repetition, repetition. Methods like that, when you find those are the people you want to watch. All that other stuff, unless you just don't really care about making it subconscious, you can watch that. But if you want to make it stick, those are the ones you should really go with. Anyhow, in the next video, I'll probably get into more detailed things, and I will hold your hand a bit and kind of walk you through some ChatGPT stuff that I found useful. But until then, try to do some of the groundwork on your own. It's really going to help you focus, and it's going to help you build out the things that you need for yourself. Also, understand that no matter what you focus on, maybe a certain subject here, a certain subject the next week, eventually it's all going to come together and work, because again, every time you learn sentences, you're learning fundamentals, and the more fundamentals you learn, the more you can just use the language without really thinking about it. So don't go looking for the perfect plan, the perfect vocab list, the perfect sentence list. It doesn't exist. Anyhow, if you found this video helpful, you can leave a like. It helps the channel a lot and helps it get out to other people. And subscribe, or I will send Perfect Cell to come get you. And I'm actually about to go study Spanish now. I just started Spanish as of me pressing the off button on this camera. So maybe look forward to that in the next several months. Anyways, love you guys. Even you guys who look like this, I love you all too. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.